this collegiate level.
All right, time to jump into game number 1 of the match between the University of Nevada, Reno and UC Berkeley. A Mage for UNR, and looks like a freeze Mage.
Yeah, University of Nevada has actually come with Paladin, Mage, and Warrior, and we talked about this. You know, if you have a guy who specializes in a certain class, wouldn't be surprised to see it. Freeze Mage, I think, is kind of off a lot of people's radars, but in certain situations, going to be right there. Berkeley, meanwhile, they're not playing Patron Warrior. This is straight up Control Warrior, and I can tell you from a lot of practice, TJ, this is a nightmare matchup for the Freeze Mage players, possibly the worst matchup in Hearthstone.
Yeah, Blackrock Mountain made it a little bit better for Freeze Mage with cards like Emperor Thorsan allowing you to do more unfair things, but TGT made the matchup a little bit better for Control Warriors because they got cards like Bash, they got Justicar Trueheart, they got more forms of armor gain. So you see now a lot of Control Warrior players go a lot into that armor. They play Justicar Trueheart, they play Shield Blocks, they play Shield Maidens, they play Armor Smiths, they play Bashes. I mean, there's so many ways for these guys to gain armor, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, Control Warriors will play armor, and they'll play more armor.
Yep.
And, Freeze Mages, they'll play Mad Scientists, they'll play Emperor Thorsan, but they have the same old burn spells they've always had.
Yeah.
Now, something I did see very recently, it was actually Purple was streaming a Freeze Mage deck that had Malagos in it. And the Malagos can give you that little bit of extra push that you need. You know, you have one major threat towards the end. You know, you cast some fireballs, and then you roll into turn 10. If you have discounted Frostbolts, Ice Lances, and that Malagos, you're looking at some major damage output. So that's a kind of a card maybe you want to look out for. If Nevada's been paying very close attention to this, maybe that's something they teched in here.
Yeah, and the Control Warrior players with the cards like Bash and like Justicar Trueheart that are giving them more armor, that makes the deck have less pressure. They don't have bigger threats that are going to put more pressure on the Freeze Mage earlier, so it gives the Freeze Mage more time. Now, of course, it gives the Warrior player more armor, so sometimes you really could have all the time in the world as the Freeze Mage player and still never get through 80 points of health or however much it is, but it does give them more windows of opportunity.
Which is really all you're looking for when you're in the Freeze Mage's spot. Again, this matchup is very difficult to win because your game plan is usually to fight against minion pressure. So you have lots of ways to clear the board, lots of ways to effectively deal with minions and stall out the game until you have those big damage turns. But Control Warrior are just strictly looking to pad that life total in this matchup. So all of their resources are getting dedicated to their life total. That's the last spot the Freeze Mage wants to have to be fighting against. So very much an uphill battle here, but they already have Emperor Thorsan, they already have an Ice Lance, and they already have Archmage Antonidas. You put together a couple more pieces, say Berkeley doesn't find the removal spells they need. Maybe they have to use one of the Doomsayer or even the Emperor Thorsan. Archmage Antonidas might not even sit around for a turn.
Yeah, very true. As a Warrior player in this matchup, the thing you want to do here is sort of space out your armor gain. You want to make sure that you're hitting your armor up button, your hero power every turn in combination with other armor up effects. You don't want to have a turn where you're, say, double shield blocking, because then you're not getting efficient amounts of armor. You want to shield block and then use your hero power one turn, and then shield block, use your hero power the next turn.
Yeah, and this is something you don't often see from the Freeze Mage deck in this matchup, is the ability to even play a turn 6 Emperor Thorsan, but they have enough utility in their hand that I think this is actually worth it. Not only is this going to force something from Berkeley, but, say they didn't have an answer to Emperor Thorsan. Suddenly that guy's getting a lot of damage. So this not only gives you the right discount on the spells that you have right now, but it also gives you a little bit of information. So this play, very aggressive, I think, from Nevada, but exactly what they need to do to put themselves on the best foot. Yeah.
And you said it. I mean, look at those cards that they're reducing. The Ice Lances, those being 0. I mean, when you're reducing a card from, like, say, 5 to 4, 20% discount, you're reducing a card from 1 to 0. You're getting rid of 100% of the cost, so it makes a big deal when you can use a card for free, especially a card like Ice Lance, that with Archmage Antonidas, you're basically turning it into a fireball. You're turning it into more damage.
You know what's funny here, too, is if University of Nevada would have gone for this Archmage this turn, it actually would stick to the board.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not a risk they're willing to take right now. Berkeley's got a lot of cards in their hand, and they haven't used very much. They've used one Shield Slam. But Berkeley very aggressively... it's sort of weird to say aggressively armoring up, but they're very much dedicating resources to doing this. Sometimes you'll see Justicar sit in hand for a little bit until you can get a couple more hero powers in, because it'll replace the hero power. So with 10 mana, you can get 2 of those in there. But, something that this Freeze Mage deck doesn't do is pressure the life total. So because of that, they have the freedom to use these cards however they want to, and they've been doing a beautiful job weaving in hero powers. Look at how much extra life this freeze mage has got to chew through. And now in this spot, the Archmage Antonidas doesn't look like it's always going to stick, but they wanted to get that Frost Nova in to couple with the Ice Lances, so that way it shuts off all the ways to activate Execute other than damage. So their patience, I think, is going to pay off here, and they're just going for it. They say, you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah, and they're okay with throwing away the Ice Lance at an Armor Smith because, one, Armor Smith is dangerous to leave up on the board, especially when you think you're going to need to AoE. And also because with Archmage Antonidas on the board, they're basically getting a free Fireball in their hand. Well, they're getting it for free. The Fireball won't be free, but...
Berkeley's got to be terrified of this situation. They're going to have to go for Armor Smith and Brawl.
If this Brawl does not win for Berkeley, they're in so much trouble.
Oh my gosh, TJ! The Armor Smith always wins the Brawl!
And you can tell the guys from UNR are thinking, you know what? This matchup was tough. We threw it out in a prayer, and we had a 50-50 chance of basically going into an unfavorable matchup and doing some work, because that would have been pretty disastrous for Berkeley if that Armor Smith had not won the Brawl.
And look at Berkeley. They're all smiles after that, but they realized they didn't have another decision. They had to take care of that Archmage. It's very rare that Warrior's going to find himself in a position this matchup where there's a 50% chance something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So to have that kind of spot where they have to sweat it, that was the best University of Nevada was going to get. And you could even tell when it happened to them, they went, you know what? We gave it our best shot, but that's just going to happen sometimes. That's Hearthstone.
You're going to see the expression of UNR as this game goes on get more somber and somber.
I don't know. They looked really relaxed. I think they've played this game exactly how they needed to play it to try to win it. You can't feel too bad about this one. Your opponents had a great curve. They hit the Justicar early. You made them try to brawl away an Archmage. It just doesn't get better than that. You got to feel for them at some point.
Yeah, they're shaking their head. At this point, with Archmage Antonidas and both Ice Lances gone, if you're Berkeley, you can count the maximum amount of damage that UNR can do to you over the next 2 turns. So it doesn't even matter. If Alexstrasza came out this turn and every single piece of burn was in the hand for UNR, I don't think they'd win even with that.
That's the other thing, too, is not only can they calculate the maximum damage they can deal in 2 turns, they can likely calculate the maximum damage they can deal, period.
Yeah, for the rest of the game.
That's the situation that, the Control Warrior with 28 armor loves to be in. There's a chance they've already outscaled that just by being able to hero power every single turn. So I think Nevada's going to give it their best shot. They don't strike. These 3 don't strike me as a group of people who are going to give up.
Yeah. You're picking me for 1. I'm armoring up for 4.
Great trade.
Yeah. They're thinking it over. What could possibly be our win condition here? This mad scientist has to get in for like 25.
Yeah, that's the thing.
26 because he's got 2 attack.
Repetitive damage is what they have at this point. So say they do manage to stick an Alexstrasza to the board, and it does go unchecked. That's really where their win condition's at. So they're trying to figure out how to balance their resources properly right now, and really play for that long game. They understand that hero powers on face are going to matter more probably than drawing the extra cards will at this point, because you're living on a prayer right now. So you just hope for the best, and things you got to continue to go south of this game. But once again, gave it the best fight they could, and I don't know, maybe there's a chance that Berkeley ends up drawing too many cards. Maybe that's an alternative game plan as well.
Fatigue.
Yeah, like say you just commit to not drawing any more cards at this point, and you could force Berkeley to draw 3 cards with an Acolyte of Pain. Obviously that's not a very hopeful situation, I don't think, but some chance to win is better than no chance to win.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier with playing the more recent Control Warrior, where you're adding in cards that are more utility instead of threats, like Justicar Trueheart. Then you're foregoing bigger threats. So Fatigue might be an option because Warriors might just not be able to put on enough damage. I mean, it's a long shot.
It certainly is. And Berkeley actually even realizes, I think, what a long shot this is. Notice they held that Acolyte of Pain in their hand.
Yeah.
They don't even want to give a shred of chance to Nevada to be able to put them into those fatigue turns. And they know that 4 armor a turn is just, it's not going to be overcomable by this Freeze Mage deck. So to see them playing against every single possible option from Nevada this early, it's just, what a fantastic group of minds this has been in game number 1. Granted, the matchup, but playing around everything else.
Look, we can't even see one of the members of UNR now. They're all starting to just like sink back. Eventually, we're just going to see the top of one guy's head.
It'll be just like watching show play.
Man. Look at this. He's He's going above 30 armor now. His total health is above 60.
I can tell you what, every single time I've seen my warrior opponents at 32 armor, I felt pretty good about my chances to kill him.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever stayed in a freeze mage versus warrior matchup long enough if I was a freeze mage to see them get that much armor. These guys are troopers. I am not a trooper.
Yeah. The other thing that to account for here too is that when they're playing the game this long, their list is pretty much set in stone. It's exactly what it's going to be. But maybe they see a tech card from Berkeley and that tips them off in one of the other games.
Yep.
To play this distance and force Berkeley to have more of their hand shown, maybe they get some information about how their other decks are built, because they've already shown that they're willing to go unconventional with the Control Warrior builds. These are something we don't see very often because Grim Patron is such a powerful deck.
Yeah.
So to see them playing against the grain already, I like to see that they're waiting and trying to get as much information as they can. At the end of the day, they don't really lose anything.
Yeah, they're still going to have to win with this freeze mage, so, I mean, well, actually, maybe there is a little bit of benefit to sort of maybe hiding some of the tech cards that they have in their own deck. They're the ones who have to still win with this deck. Maybe hiding a secret card that they might have thrown in there. Maybe if they do have a Malagos hidden in their deck, maybe they get to the point where they would play it and then say, well, maybe it's time to get out of this game.
That's the thing, is I think that they're seeing that side of it as well, where if they do have to play their own tech cards, unless there's actually a pretty decent chance for them to win it after that, they're likely going to be hanging on to that. So I think this is more of an information play from them than the other side of things. But Alexstrasza coming out, they want to get this game over with, and they know it's pretty darn close to that point anyway.
I think this is the only turn this whole game where they haven't hit that armor up button.
It's also, I've noticed, every single one of their cards are golden.
Yeah.
These guys are serious.
One of them plays golden or Control Warrior a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, doesn't have a golden portrait though. Focusing on school, I'd like to see that first.
A little bit weird, not having the golden portrait, but every single card golden. They were too busy playing Miracle Rogue in the Miracle Rogue days.
That was a good old deck. Man, I miss those days.
Yeah, they got enough dust to get all the cards, but they didn't play enough Warrior.
So both Doomsday are taken care of now. Alexstrasza is basically the last hope. We can see Berkeley's hand already has the big game hunter for it. They are a little bit low on resources, but again, the major resource is that life total. The 37 armor backed by 29 life. Nevada can shed some of that down here, but I imagine first order business, take care of the Alexstrasza. Again, once maybe, just maybe, the Alexstrasza sticks to the board. That's their big hope here.
Yeah, it's sort of a long shot though. I mean, they have seen both shield slams. I believe
Seen and execute.
Well,
they're also about to see a Dr. Boom.
And Dr. Boom is very dangerous to the freeze player because those boom bots can go through ice block since the secret cannot proc on your own turn. You have to be careful, but he has a high enough health total to where it's not going to matter, because even if those boom bots are feeling extra dastardly today, they're still only going to do 8 damage.
I was looking at you trying to figure out what word you were cooking up for the boom bots.
Yeah.
That was the perfect one.
I gave you the smile and the nod, and I'm like, here comes a word. Take it or leave it.
Here comes a word. Here comes a fireball. And, having to use these burn spells on minions instead of on that life total that's already reached 70 at this point, it feels bad, man, but you got to do what you got to do. Berkeley does draw their second Acolyte, though, so their hand is almost entirely utility at this point. If there's a turn, I think, where University of Nevada could stick an Alexstrasza to the board, it is something like this. Now, again, that big game hunter has been sitting in the opening hand the entire game.
Yeah.
And Nevada, if they've been tracking this, they know that card's there, but I think you got to take the risk.
Yeah. And I think Berkeley realized that they could have gone for a potential block pop there. It would have been pretty much about a 50-50.
They're gonna take the gentleman's way out and double fireball their own face in this one. Again, just over 70 life total is going to be too much to overcome. Berkeley takes a pretty convincing game number 1 here, but when you have Control Warrior versus Freeze Mage, that's usually how it works out.